So what does this mean? Well, it means that you're not calling your customers 5 times a day like they did in the 90s. The question that every single salesperson seems to have at top of their mind is, what is the best way that I can communicate with my customers? Is it call? Is it text? Is it email? Is it video chat? There's so many options in today's day and age. And in this video module, we'll be looking at every single option and looking at the probability of your customer responding back to you via call, text, or email. According to a national study done by Business Wire Haya, phone calls are the best converting method when reaching out to cold leads and warm leads. I know what sales guys from the 90s are thinking. I told you so. Phone calls are the best thing since sliced bread, man. We gotta stick to the old ways. Before you get excited, let's take a look at some other statistics, okay? Only 2 out of 10 calls are ever picked up from individuals who have received a call from someone who has called them from an unknown number. It's a lot of calls in between. But with that being said, that means, ladies and gentlemen, if I call you and you don't have my number saved on your phone, there's only a 20% chance that you pick up that call. That means there's an 80% chance of you looking at my call and going, ooh, don't want to pick it up. It's probably some scammer from India trying to get me to send money over to them. No, thank you. With that said, there's still some certain people in between who might pick up, who might not pick up, but about 70% of people, or 7 out of 10 people, will pick up your call if your number's saved on their phone. Now, with that information taken into consideration, when we take a look at phone calls, we want to make sure that we're able to convert the highest way possible. So what should we do to go from 20 to 70? Here's a bit of a secret that I want to share with you guys. Most individuals use an iPhone or an Android phone. So how can you get in front of them to make sure they have your number saved before even getting in touch with them? It's simple. Before you call them, okay, you guys want to send them a text message introducing yourself. Just a quick little blurb, Miko from Verity. Because guess what happens when you call them? When you call them, underneath your number, it'll say Miko Verity. And now this person has your name on there that they can associate with it. Because if they're just looking at a random sequence of numbers, they're going to try to decode that number in their head and go, do I know this person? And if the answer is no, you're falling in that 20% bucket. But if it says Miko from Verity or Miko Verity, and they're able to see it and they're able to decode that, oh yeah, Verity, Miko's probably a salesperson. Now you fall in that 70% bucket, and now you have a higher probability of at least getting your customer on the phone. Now, when you do have the customer on the phone, obviously you go through your entire sales process and you follow up with your customer. Here's where the biggest drop-off actually happens in the entire sales process. 30% of leads never get a follow-up call from the salesperson. That means the salesperson might have lost the call, the customer might have said, hey, call me back later at this time, and 30% of people drop that lead. They stop calling the customer. This means if you go through your entire database of customers, you'll probably find a large amount of individuals sitting at that database who are still interested in buying but never received a follow-up call. So that could be a way for you to look for cold leads as well, guys. Look at your database. Look at people who have shown interest in the past but never sold. Find out why. Now that we've gone over call statistics, let's take a look at texting. With texting, 9 out of 10 text messages are opened within the first 3 minutes of being received. Think about that really quickly. 9 out of 10. That means you have a 90% success ratio for someone to see a text message on their phone and open it right away. Regardless of the situation that they're in, they'll open the text messages. That's a large amount of people compared to phone calls. So why would you not take advantage of sending a text message to your customer? It's the easiest method of communication, guys. Don't sleep on text messages. Now, I know what some guys are thinking. It's just the read rate. It doesn't mean they've actually opened the message. Well, in terms of opening the message, it's a 98% chance of them opening the message. Now, what about reply? Reply is obviously the big thing, because if they're not interested in the message that you're saying, they're not going to reply. But here's the thing, guys. Your content in that message needs to entice them to reply. If you just say something weird like, got your ADU application, how was your day today? What type of reply is that? They're going to be like, okay, who is this guy? Is he trying to flirt with me? Is he trying to take me out for dinner? What's the objective here? So you need to create a text message template that gets your customer excited, that gets them interested, that gets them wanting to know more about your service and business model. So when you send a text message to a customer, strategically plan it out on what you're going to say. Obviously, your first text message, like I mentioned with calls, needs to be an introduction, so that way when you do call the customer, it shows your name on the caller ID. And with that being said, a strategically planned text message that is enticing enough and strong enough will typically have a 45% conversion ratio of getting a reply back. Now, with the reply back, it could be anything. It could be a wild card. This person could say, I'm interested, call me at this time. This person could say, not interested, call me back at a later time. And this person could say, go away, leave me alone. And that changes the landscape of things. But the premise of this is we want to capture people who are interested, and we want to do so by casting such a wide net that people are replying back to us, and we're making it easy for them to get in touch with us. And that's why you should never sleep on text messaging your customer. Now, although the open ratio for emails is not quite high and it's not quite enticing, like I mentioned the entire time, don't sleep on emails, because there's going to be different individuals who prefer emails by text messages. So how do you capitalize on creating the best email that you can for every single person to capture that person that's interested in emails instead of texting? Well, number one, you want to have an engaging subject line. Like we just mentioned earlier, 33.9% of people will only ever open your email because you have an engaging subject line. So really think out the subject line before you send it out to your clientele bases. Give it some time. You don't need to rush it. The thing with emails is if you send enough emails and this person doesn't email you back, or this person doesn't open it, you get automatically filtered to spam. So be strategic with the subject line. Don't rush into the email process. Make sure you have one that will get people going, get people interested, get people to want to click the email to begin with. Number two is when they click the email, is there a call to action? Like I mentioned, we're not trying to sell them in the email. We're trying to get them to the next step of the process, which is a phone call or an in-person meeting. So what can be in your email as a call to action? Well, it can be a Calendly meeting invite. It could be a link to your website that sets a Calendly meeting invite. It could be a way to speak with your customer directly with a customer service team via Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever platform that you utilize. But just make sure the call to action is there and available, preferably above the fold. Above the fold basically means when your customer opens it, they can see almost instantaneously the call to action and the button that they need to click, because subconsciously, that's what our brains are looking for. What's the next step? So if they see it, they know what to do next. So don't sleep on that as well. And last but not the least is you want to make sure that your contact information is available on the email. Because if this person wants to reach out to you via call, via text, via Facebook, via LinkedIn, you want to give them the opportunity to reach out to you however they want to reach out to you. Like I've been saying this entire time, make it simple for people to reach out to you. Make it easy for them to talk to you. Talk the way they want to talk. Find out their best method of communication and be on it for them. Be there for your customer. If they don't prefer being on a phone call, fine, text. If they don't prefer text, fine, email. If they don't prefer email, fine, voice notes. Find ways to get in touch with your customer. Provide your contact information in the email for the customer. Just in case they want to continue the conversation by a phone call, they have a phone number to reach you there. Or if they want to reach you by Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it may be, they can reach you there as well. Make it easy for your customer to reach you in order to get in contact with you. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into only one method of communication. Provide a wide option for them to choose from and allow them to choose the method that they feel the most comfortable with reaching out to you. If you've been paying attention to the sales training so far up until now, you'll notice that I typically say it's not the 90s anymore, guys. And I'm going to say it again right now. It is not the 90s anymore. We have the power of technology in front of us. We have text messages, we have video messages, we have FaceTime, we have Skype, we have Zoom. Utilize every single method of communication with your customers because you don't know what that customer prefers to be contacted on. When you first initially get a lead, be creative with the way you reach out to them. Show your face as quickly as possible so they know they're working with a real salesman and not a computer-generated AI. Now, with that being said, I also want to really emphasize on the fact in this module that you need to spread the way that you communicate with your customer until you find out their preferred method of communication. So what does this mean? Well, it means that you're not calling your customers 5 times a day like they did in the 90s. It means that you're not just texting your customer like they did in the early 2000s. It means that you're not just FaceTiming your customer because some people are not comfortable with FaceTime. It means diversifying the way that you contact your customer. So when you get a lead, what do? Well, email them, call them, text them until they get back to you on one of the preferred methods. And when you're on that call with the customer, break it down to them. Mr. Customer, I want to be wary and I want to be respectful of the way that I communicate with you. How do you prefer to be contacted? FaceTime, email, text, call? Perfect. Once you get that out of the way, in the off chance that I can't reach you through that communication method, how do you want me to reach out to you? Call, text, email, provide them with other options until you have 1 or 2 options available. That way, if someone ignores you through call, you have a follow-up method. You have a way that's preferred for them. But until you get that information out of them, guess what you need to do, guys? Diversify the way that you contact your customer. It's not the 90s. Don't just call people because you have so much more options to get in front of them. Be creative. Talk to your customers the way they want to be talked to. Make it easy for them to communicate with you. Don't limit yourself to one communication method. Call, text, email, FaceTime, you name it, and that's how you get the sale. Now that we've gone over all the methods that you can possibly contact your customer with and look at the statistics as to what's the best possible way, I want to round it up by saying there is no best way possible. It's a combination of calling, texting, emailing, and I want to add another factor into this. FaceTime videos, video messages. These are things that are not being utilized by the average salesman. You want to stand out from the crowd. You want to show the person that they're not speaking to an AI computer-generated salesperson, but rather a real person. So again, guys, time kills deals. So what do you need to do? When you get a lead, send a text message, send a video message, call that person, get in front of them. Don't be afraid to speak with a customer. Ask them about the problems that they're experiencing. Ask them about the end goals that they want. Ask them about what they're looking to accomplish. It doesn't really matter what you decide to go on first, but make sure you utilize all services. Call, text, email, FaceTime, video messaging. Be tenacious when you work your leads because guess what, guys? The average salesman, they get a lead, they get a text message, they text that person back, boom, 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 boom. Customer calls them, they look at their phone, they go, ugh, I don't want to pick it up. You don't want to be that person. Pick up the phone. If you get a lead and the person specifically says, I want a phone call at 3 to 5, call them at 3. Mr. Customer, I got your application. It says here specifically that you want to be contacted at 3. I want to make sure I got you right at 3 so that way you're not bombarded with different things throughout your day. This is how the process works. Go over the sales process. Make it quick and simple for people who don't have a lot of time. Don't make it overcomplicated. Don't make your sales process drawn out for no reason. Make it easy for people to want to do business with you. If they prefer text, text. If they prefer call, call. Later on in this video module, we'll also be going over non-traditional follow-up methods that I've personally used in the past that have worked for me. So stay tuned for that information. But going back to it, guys, there is no perfect method, like I said. Call, text.